I'm Clark Halverson, President of the United Way of Anchorage. We're here today with our partners to announce that we've officially launched Home for Good, an initiative to house some of our most vulnerable neighbors, and to acknowledge some of the people and organizations who helped make this program a reality. With unanimous support from the Anchorage Assembly, a fully committed city administration, and unprecedented collaboration across Anchorage, Home for Good has the support and leadership needed as it aims to provide supportive housing to 150 of our neighbors caught in a cycle of prison, emergency care, and persistent homelessness. We are working with individuals who suffer severe mental illness, complicated medical conditions, a history of trauma that can include sexual abuse, domestic violence, child neglect, fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, addictions, and physical disabilities, more chronic wounds than most of us can imagine, let alone live with. Supportive housing that includes intensive case management provides the stability and care that helps people break out of that cycle and live better lives. On the community level, we do right by our neighbors who need help. We make wiser use of both public and private money, and together we enhance the safety and health of our businesses, our parks, and our trails. So how do we know Home for Good works? Well, it's working right now. The Home for Good pilot program that opened in July 2019 currently has 22 clients housed. We now want to scale the pilot success into numbers that will make a true impact. We aim to house 100 individuals by October 2021 and to have 150 in stable housing by October 2022. This is hard work, and we are in it for the long haul, and it will take an all Anchorage approach, with each of us bringing our strengths and our resources. Together, we already have a successful program underway, and we're doing it with a new funding mechanism called Pay for Success that only spends Municipality of Anchorage funds, the taxpayers' money, when we get the results showing true success of the program. I do not have time today to name all those contributing to Home for Good, but I want to thank our leading partners, starting with our upfront funders, the Alaska Mental Health Trust Authority, Primera Blue Cross, Providence Alaska Foundation, and the Rasmussen Foundation. In addition, I'd like to thank the Alaska Community Foundation for directing a share of Federal CARES Act money to Home for Good. Next, we want to thank our providers, those working directly with our Home for Good tenants, Alaska Behavioral Health and the South Central Foundation. And finally, United Way's leadership partners, the Municipality of Anchorage and Social Finance Incorporated. With that, I'll turn it over to some of our partners to describe their roles and the details about Home for Good. First, I'd like to introduce Acting Mayor Austin Quinn Davidson.
Mute myself. Thank you. Thank you, Clark. Good morning. I'm thrilled to be here today, and I recognize that it has taken years of work to get to this point. So thank you all who have helped us. Around 4 years ago, Clark's predecessor, Michelle Brown, who many of you know, approached then Mayor Berkowitz with an idea about addressing homelessness. And she said, let's try something different. Instead of the usual pay for services and hope for the best, let's flip that on its head. We can bring donors to the table and scale up a housing intervention that has successfully worked to reduce homelessness, and the municipality will only pay if the project achieves successful outcomes. While this new way of thinking is new in social services, it's actually quite common in the private sector. We can tie payment to performance. And we're already seeing that when the framework is applied to social problems, we can see compelling results. Today, we are celebrating the launch of Alaska's first Pay for Success project. Home for Good addresses a complex community issue while protecting taxpayer dollars. It's a smart investment. Every municipal dollar leverages almost $2 from other funders, and the municipality only pays for successful results. What that means in practice is that individuals living in camps and shelters with the most disabling medical and behavioral health issues will get the support they need to achieve safety and stability in a home. This is not a government solution to homelessness. This is a community solution. Home for Good brings together over 20 partner organizations and involves a level of data sharing and coordination that is unlike projects that have come before it. And as others will discuss, we're already seeing promising results. During the pilot year of the program, around 90% of the participants remained stably housed after years of cycling between shelters, camps, emergency rooms, and jails. Not only is this kind of life hard to live, but it's expensive. And at a time when our shelters are bursting at the seams, this project can help create space and save money. During the pilot year of the program, arrests dropped, ambulance calls dropped. And if we continue to see these kinds of results, our officers and first responders will have more capacity to respond to calls elsewhere. I want to thank United Way and Social Finance for being outstanding partners in getting this project off the ground. Thank you, of course, to Diane Kaplan and to the Rasmussen Foundation, to the Mental Health Trust Authority, Providence, Alaska, and Primera Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alaska for making this project possible with your investment. And thank you to South Central Foundation and Alaska Behavioral Health for taking on the challenging but critical work of delivering the services that are required to give individuals in our community hope. It is clear that we have great reason to be hopeful. Thank you, Clark.
Thank you, Mayor Quinn Davidson. Next, we have Assemblywoman Meg Zolotow.
Thank you, Clark. It's quite an honor and pleasure to be here today as chair for the Assembly's Committee on Homelessness. For those who may not know, Home for Good is a supportive housing project. Around the world, this intervention has been the most successful to increase public health and safety for all by bringing our most vulnerable off the streets, out of camps, and into a sustainable home. This is how we take a bite out of our visible homelessness and the concerns raised by the public. Funding a variety of projects along the continuum of homelessness services provides the municipality and its partners a multifaceted approach to both address community concerns and protect our most vulnerable residents. Home for Good is an important piece to that continuum that the municipality has not before invested in to this level or in this manner. I'm excited to see the continued progress of the individuals who receive not just a safe place to live, but wraparound services to make their transition to housing successful. I am hopeful that we will continue to see success with this model and that we can continue to support it in the coming years. Thank you, Anchorage, for investing in real solutions to tackle complex issues of homelessness in our community. Thanks, Clark.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Zolotow. On behalf of the major funders of this initiative, here is the President and CEO of the Rasmussen Foundation, Diane Kaplan.
Thank you, Jason. When I see a person outside in Anchorage on a cold, cold day without shelter, I know that there, but for the grace of God, go I. Every one of these people has a story. Sometimes it's a story of unimaginable trauma. Sometimes it's an inability to fit in, cope, hold a job because of a mental illness or a traumatic brain injury. Sometimes it's a losing battle with addiction to alcohol or drugs, often fueled by having experienced abuse. Who among us today doesn't know someone who has struggled with addiction or mental illness? Very few, I would imagine. Last summer, I often passed by a tent set up at the corner of 4th Avenue and Cordova. Occasionally, I would spot a woman living in that tent. It seemed such a public place to camp, and I wondered who she was. I did some research and found out that she had lived in Southeast at one time and had then moved up to South Central and was working on the slope and had a serious injury at work. She suffered brain damage through no fault of her own, and one of her symptoms was extreme paranoia. She wouldn't let social workers near her. She was fearful of any contact, and it was hard to figure out how she could be helped. Here was a woman who was employed, self-sufficient, and now is living in a tent on a corner in downtown Anchorage. It happens. As the COVID pandemic continues into its 9th month and winter settles in, our shelters are over capacity, and it's very likely that it's going to get worse. Home for Good is an incredibly important step towards making chronic homelessness a rare, brief, and one-time event. We believe life will be better for everyone if the most vulnerable people are supported in a home, an apartment, a place to call their own. We started in this work in 2018. Ed Rasmussen, our board chair, was seeing the increasing number of visible homelessness on the streets of Anchorage, and he insisted that our staff get engaged and that we help get a solution. The number of people experiencing homelessness in Anchorage is small enough that with a concentrated, coordinated, and committed approach, Anchorage can solve homelessness. We are on board with this pay for success model. We want results: stable housing, fewer medical expenses, less time in jail and prison, and Home for Good is our first experience with contracting for results. The strategy is counter what is usually done. Instead of hope, we are going to do something, and we will be committed and accountable and only expect public investment if we're successful. Home for Good wants to make sure housing, and just as important, supports for housing, are provided to individuals with the most profound needs, the ones who are in and out of jail, the ones picked up by ambulance time and time again, the ones staying in shelters for long periods or living on the street chronically. If we're successful, we will reduce the cost of public services by getting people who are huge users of these services into permanent supportive housing. This is a great example of a public-private partnership to launch a new funding strategy. The program also meets the critical need to develop more supportive housing for disabled and vulnerable people in our community. Private organizations can sometimes more easily take a risk than government can of a big idea. This is a new way of solving homelessness that ties together proven elements: housing first, caseworkers to help navigate the system, bringing services to the individual. This is also a new way of funding a housing program. Government will pay for results that are established through a contract for performance. Funders who helped in the pilot year, the Mental Health Trust, with a total investment of $1 million. We also thank our other partners, Providence, Alaska Health and Services, and Primera Foundation. We 4 partners have committed a total of $2 million for year 1. This is one of the investments that we promised when we spoke to the people of Anchorage a couple of years ago, committing $40 million to end homelessness in our community. Thanks so much to these partners for joining us in the funding of the first year of Home for Good. Once the initiative is fully launched and proven, government funders can take over and really bring this concept to scale so that people experiencing homelessness have access to the housing and support they need to make them healthy and our Anchorage community healthy. This project will be a great step forward, but Home for Good fills only part of the need. The Anchorage Coalition on Homelessness conducted an analysis of needs and gaps this year. We still need 550 additional supportive housing units for single adults, but we'll take it one step at a time. It's a public-private partnership with great promise, and we thank United Way for pulling us together to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. To share more about Home for Good's impact on our local neighborhoods, here is Steve Lindbeck, President of the Rogers Park Community Council.
Thank you, Clark. It's really an honor to be in such a distinguished company here today. And I should start with a slight disclaimer, which is to say that the Rogers Park Community Council has not taken a position on Home for Good, but I can guarantee you that being in the Community Council workload and being at the meetings we hold regularly, this issue is front and center for us, and this is a great vantage point for observing what's going on around us in our community and trying to take part. People in our neighborhood are worried, they're sensitive, they're concerned, They're scared sometimes, they're angry sometimes, and a whole range of things that it occurs to me often are the feelings and needs of the people that are on the street. It's a mirror, really, that we're all living in this situation. So I can say that our community council is really very concerned. We adjoin the Chester Creek Greenbelt, and there are people in our neighborhood that are worried about the camps and the trash and the risk of fire, and also very seriously about the human costs, the people that we see suffering and hurting and wondering, how things will emerge in the next day or two. So our neighborhood is really engaged, sometimes in ways that we'd rather not be, but certainly in concern for what's going on. And we are, I believe, delighted to see so much ferment in the community, people stepping up to do something, to coordinate and organize the plans to address very complex problems and situations, and to help individuals who are clearly hurting and who we don't know want to be here in this situation. To give a little perspective on this, at least 3 people have died on the streets in our neighborhood this year alone. People who are experiencing homelessness. And there is a tremendous amount of concern here just at the straight human level. People want to see a situation improved, and we want to see opportunities for people on the streets to improve their lives. The basic thing, the most basic human need is shelter. If you haven't got protection from the elements, you have a very difficult time getting from one day to another. I was thinking yesterday, driving by a group of people on the street at Seward Highway, and thinking, my God, it's winter now, and it was cold and wet, and people were dealing with a harsh kind of world. And I thought, if I were in that situation, I'm not sure I'd want to live until tomorrow. It's a miracle that they do, and that they persist, and that we have some services, but not enough to take care of them. So the first thing we need is to put roofs over the heads. We need to provide stability so people can grow and heal. We need the opportunity and the support services that are being provided in this program. So I think that it's greatly hopeful that the Pay for Success model is moving forward, that the community leadership has come together, the philanthropies and the community leaders, to try to make something useful happen here. We are greatly hopeful. The bottom line would be, so far, so good. The pilot project has been a great success, and I think there's a tremendous opportunity ahead of us. Now is the time. Winter is here. We need to get started sooner and sooner, and we need to make things happen so that our community can be safer and stronger, and the individuals in it can be supported. So thank you to the community leaders and the philanthropies who've made this come together. I can guarantee you that our neighborhood will be watching and hoping and ready to help as needed. So thank you for the opportunity. Clark and the others, thank you for doing the good work you're doing, and let us know how we can help.
Thanks so much, Steve. Lastly, I'd like you to hear directly about some of those who are already receiving support from Home for Good. Here's William Hutchins from Alaska Behavioral Health to share some updates of our current clients.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you for this opportunity to read a letter on behalf of several clients that Alaska Behavioral Health is working with. Dear United Way of Anchorage, thank you for the Home for Good program. It helps us to get where we're trying to go. One participant said, "The Home for Good program is so great and I'm appreciative for it. I needed a place and the program was there for me. Thank you very much." This individual experienced multiple traumatic events in childhood and grew up in the foster care system. Despite a difficult start, she graduated high school and even attended college, but the road of trauma followed. And as an adult, she has had many medical and psychiatric hospitalizations. I know it's possible to do better than I am. She needed additional supports to move toward recovery. She just couldn't move beyond survival mode. Without help, couldn't move beyond survival mode without help. Now she's staying inside with a roof and heat every night. And she's attending therapy and finding ways life is better every day for her. Many program participants struggle to meet needs on their own. Case managers come alongside, starting an outreach and an initial engagement, and staying in contact many times each week afterward. Another participant described, "My caseworker, the program Home for Good is very helpful in taking care of what we need." Another participant expresses, "Home for Good. I like my hotel. Happy I'm not on the streets. Happy crazy day. Great." This individual spent many years of her childhood in an institution after experiencing significant trauma in her home. As an adult, she has experienced years of homelessness and has received health care through the emergency room. Many people close to her have passed away. She has serious medical conditions which are very difficult to manage without a home. Despite her past loss and challenges, she maintains a positive outlook. Thank you on behalf of all of these and all of the Home for Good participants. Thank you.
Thank you, William. The road to stable life for people struggling with multiple significant challenges is neither short nor straight. The full consequences of extreme trauma, untreated severe mental illness, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, physical disabilities, or addiction do not develop overnight, and they will not end overnight. Lasting improvement is a long journey, and the data we have now confirms we're on the right path. We are proud and excited to build on the Home for Good pilot's promise and to have more individuals find a better path through this program. The support for Home for Good is an expression of generous, accountable philanthropy, wise public policy, and just simple decency. Thanks again to all of our partners and for their commitment to make a better Anchorage. At this time, we welcome any questions.
Well, thank you again for all of our speakers. It's really great to hear from so many different perspectives, and I think it shows the community support for and need for something like this. And so United Way is very excited to be leading this, and thank you again for everyone who was participating and here to have us celebrate this great endeavor. I know we have several media on the Zoom today, and so we're welcome to have those through the chat. And if there are no questions, we'll be sending out more information at the end of this. And so we'll wait just a few more minutes to see if there's any questions. But in the meantime, again, just thank you for everyone who is on the call today. It's great to see so many community leaders and people who have been in our city for a long time, who have been a part of this solution. And the sun is shining, and it's a great day, and we're very hopeful that the program, the information and data that's been collected will showcase that this is a worthy path for so many groups to be a part of. Don't see any questions from media at this point, and so we will wrap it up. But again, thank you for everyone for their leadership and caring support. There is a question from Lex with Alaska Public Media, and so we will we'll wait for that to pop up. Yes,
I speak? Yeah, if you guys can hear me, I would just go ahead and ask the question. Thank you for the press conference. I have, I guess, two questions that I think are separated. One is, and I know Steve Limbeck kind of touched on this, but this is, I'll go ahead and start my video. This is obviously, or homelessness in general, and how to address homelessness has been a big issue, in Anchorage this year. And, I guess I was kind of just wondering if someone, maybe Assemblywoman Zalatel, could speak to the, kind of the bipartisanship, what efforts have been made to get, the whole assembly on board with this, and what feedback you are hearing from some of the sides that have been generally more opposed to kind of municipal spending on homelessness. So that's the first part of my question, and I guess I'll let you guys answer that one, whoever wants to take that before I ask my second one.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. So the Assembly has really worked very hard on the issues of homelessness based on community concerns and community impacts in the past year and a half. We really started to make a statement about our investment in trying to contribute towards solutions around homelessness last budget cycle. We invested in funding year-round shelter for those experiencing homelessness. So I feel like this is just the next step. We recognize that, shelter is great. It's a necessary step for Anchorage to deal with the concerns around camping, and that it's just necessary year-round. But also this project, which received unanimous support, is another facet in that response, and working together through both those types of responses, plus hopefully soon prevention program funding through the alcohol tax, through that proposed budget. We're really looking at a holistic way to tackle the issues of homelessness, recognizing that they're complex and that we need to do more than just react to the symptoms of what we're seeing, whether that's camps or people on the streets. What we need to do is be as holistic as possible and leverage with our partners so that we're all in this together.
Yeah, and I guess to put it more directly, do you feel like you have good buy-in from, to put it bluntly, the more conservative members of the Assembly? If this can prove itself, is there will to use public funds to support this in the future?
I can speak to the past vote. It was unanimous. Similar with the shelter dollar funding, it was unanimous. So I think that's important. That's the step forward. It is one of the Assembly's adopted priorities as well to tackle homelessness. We did adopt priorities in that area.
Okay, and then I had one more quick question, and I jumped on a couple of minutes late, so I may have missed this at the beginning. But just to be clear, what I know there are some things that have already started with this Home for Good program. What exactly is it that begins today? What piece of the program begins today?
Thanks, Lex. And I think Eric Glatt is on, who is the program director for Home for Good with United Way of Anchorage. And I think that'd be a great question for him to kind of explain some of the next steps that happen now that the contracts are signed and we're moving forward into the next stage. Eric, are you available?
Yes, can you, I think I'm on now. Yeah, thanks for the question. This is a really important milestone we're marking here, and I want to thank everyone who's been involved. The next steps now that we've pivoted from, or we're pivoting out of a pilot where we proved that this concept works, and now we're ramping up with some pretty ambitious goals. As Jason and Clark mentioned earlier, a year from today, we aim to have 100 people in supportive housing, and from 2 years, 150. And that doesn't come just by flipping a switch. So, again, I want to thank our project partners at Alaska Behavioral Health and South Central Foundation for the hard work their case management teams are doing, working with people one-on-one. And at the same time, our leadership partnership, which includes both the municipality and Social Finance Incorporated, and technical assistance from the Corporation for Supportive Housing, which is another national nonprofit working very closely with us. And then at the local level, we have help from both Agnew Beck Consultancy. We have Mary Jane Michael, who's very deeply involved in housing in the community, and housing providers in the nonprofit sector and in the private sector who are partnering with us to scale up. There are no limit to the number of things we still need to work out together cooperatively before we can achieve our goals. We have all the pieces in place, and now it's really going to be a question of execution. So I appreciate all the attention to the project and welcome any further questions.
All right, we have a question from Irby with KTU. And it says, do people apply to be approved to be in the housing? And a follow-up to that would be, where is the housing? And Eric, I think that'd be a great question for you if you don't mind to start.
Yeah, happy to answer the question. So to the question of how do people enroll, it's actually, this is another unique feature of this project is, we've already highlighted the fact that it uses a pay for success model. That is, taxpayer money is only paid after we achieve targeted outcomes. That's one unique aspect. But another one is how people are enrolled in the project, because just as outcomes are measured by verified data, so is enrollment. So what we do is partner with the Muni and our homelessness provider infrastructure, that's HMIS, to determine who in the community is most eligible for this project. That is, who is being frequently arrested for minor for minor infractions, who's going to the shelter frequently, who's getting picked up by emergency transport and taken to the emergency department, who's getting picked up by the safety center and being brought there. So once we identify, using all these data sources, who are the most frequent users of these emergency response systems, we create an eligibility list. And then as our providers hire more case managers per our contracts with the providers to scale up on this ambitious project, they let us know when they're ready for more people. And then we refer them to people who are eligible for the intervention. It's not something yet where we can say everybody in the community who meets a threshold level of eligibility can come and add their name to a list. Unfortunately, we don't have that capacity in Anchorage yet. That's one of the things Home for Good aims to address, is that over time, we build an infrastructure that is going to be far more responsive than we currently are today. So right now, it's a data-driven eligibility process where essentially the Home for Good project will direct our service providers towards people who are eligible and engage in outreach that way. And the second question is asking a little bit more about where people are housed. So right now it's a combination of both nonprofit housing providers, such as Rural Cap and Hope Community Resources and NeighborWorks Alaska. We're in touch with other community nonprofit housing providers and hope to have people housed among their tenants as well. And at the same time, we also have a lot of private for-profit landlords who simply want to play a role in addressing homelessness and providing the right kind of environment that helps the community achieve these better outcomes. And maybe they have some housing units that they'd be interested in renting to us. And in fact, that's exactly where a good number of our folks are housed as well. And at the same time, we continue conducting outreach to meet new landlords and put the infrastructure in place to get as many people housed according to our schedule.
Thanks, Eric. There's a follow-up from Irby with K2U. It says, currently there's around 20 people being housed right now. And what is their response to the housing project? I think that might be referring to clients who are being housed. We were able to hear some of the stories and thoughts from people from William with Alaska Behavioral Health. Is there any other follow-up anyone would like to add regarding clients who are being impacted at the moment?
Well, this is Clark. I will just add that I think it was shared that we are at a 90% stable housing rate for those initial clients. And so I think that says a lot about what we're providing both in the housing and wraparound services to be supportive there. So.
Thanks, Clark. And to members of the media who are on, we do have pilot data that we'll be sending out at the end of the press conference here. And so if you do have questions, you can follow up with me. My email is jgrenn@ak.org, but we'll be sending out information here shortly. I don't believe we have any other questions at this time, and so we'll wrap up this meeting and or this this day of celebration and launching into the Home for Good program as part of a permanent plan of what's going to happen with those who are experiencing homelessness in our community. Lots of great comments from participants. Again, thank you for everyone. Michelle, thank you for your comment. And thank you for everyone for joining us. If you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to United Way, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction with information that you need. But thank you again for everyone for joining us, and have a great day.